August 24th, you run the...
Let me check.
That'd be great. The Exhibition Stadium in Toronto with Shawn taking on Goldust in a ladder match. Unbelievably, you guys draw... I didn't really mean 21,211 fans, a gigantic crowd for you. What do you remember about this Exhibition Stadium show? 21,000. It's probably the biggest show of 1996 for y'all.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Just go ahead and get that fucking flight booked. We'll talk about dick pills and just get on out of here. Come on, you got me anything on this? Do you remember this big show? It's rare for y'all to have a crowd that size in this era.
No, yeah, it was, look, Toronto was always a great market. And Toronto liked to run those big events every year, and this was kind of around the time. I don't know if Carl DeMarco was all the way in yet at this point. Yeah, actually he was. And it was during the time that Toronto was a great market, and every once in a while we'll throw a big event. I think if you would go through and look at it and you were to ask Carl looked at every single event that he had in Toronto, which ran pretty much every other month at least. Every show was WrestleMania.
In other news, Kevin Kelly makes his World Wrestling Federation debut working with Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, and we also see the first vignettes airing for the Stalker, Barry Windham. Were you thinking Kelly was going to be an addition or a replacement? I'm just trying to figure out, was Vince actively trying to find his replacement? He wanted to move away. What did you think Kevin Kelly's role was going to be initially?
No, always we were looking to replace Vince and have backup and have depth in the play-by-play field. So Kevin was somebody that had sent in stuff. He had sent in things from Universal Studios, where he'd been doing Eddie Mansfield's wrestling show. I don't know what the hell that was. That the Continental Wrestling Federation or something like that he did out of Orlando. And brought Kevin in as backup and to add depth to the play-by-play.
Let's also mention Kevin Kelly is going to become a big part of sort of the backstage interviewer role. How do you think he did in that role?
I think he did all right.
Were you actively looking for, and Lord knows there's no replacing Mean Gene Okerlund, but were you actively looking for, we need a new Mean Gene?
I think, we were always, again, looking for depth and looking for people that could step in and fill multiple roles. And the more that you could do, the more valuable you were.
Next week on Raw, the Sultan debuts with Bob Backlund and the Iron Sheik with a win over Jake Roberts. This is a big reintroduction for the future Rikishi. How did Backlund and Sheik feel about working together? You talk about two totally different human beings.
Every end of the spectrum was covered there. It's funny, man. For Fatu and Vince had this idea, and saw him. So what if we do this get up? And Junior was all into it and thinking, oh man, this will be great. It's a whole new life. And he was so much easier to get him to shave his head and do that gimmick than it was to bleach his hair and do the Rikishi gimmick. And you look at which one
hit,
really hit. And the damn Rikishi one, man, that was 2 trips I personally made to Memphis to talk him into that idea. And finally it was, you know what, Junior, if we don't do this, then I think we're kind of out of ideas at this point. And he came back in and did it, and look what it did.
Sapphire passes away on September 10th. What are your favorite memories of working with Juanita Wright?
Man, I knew Juanita from the WFIA days, and that was the Wrestling Fans International Association. It was a group of wrestling fans that were had a little, for lack of a better term, a fan club. And the WFIA would hold a convention in some territory every year. And believe it or not, there were places that really would vie to have this convention. in their territory, and they would come in and give awards to all the local wrestlers, Rookie of the Year, Superstar of the Year, all that good stuff. And Juanita was a big part of that. She was just a fan from St. Louis that would travel around, and she worked a little bit of independence in the Kansas City, St. Louis area. Terry Garvin knew of her, and we brought her in to be Dusty's Little Miss Sapphire. But I just remember Juanita from the WFIA stuff, and she was never in a bad mood. Always a joy to be around, and we had an awful lot of fun. And she slapped the living shit out of me more than 8 times.